So let us do an example. In this one, it is given that a particle is moving along a path, a one-dimensional path, and so the particle is at a position at 0 seconds, and the velocity right now is 0 meter per second. At 10 seconds, the particle accelerates with an acceleration a and has attained 8 meter per second as its velocity. Then for some time period, let's say at till time t1, it does not accelerate or decelerate, so the velocity is constant. So still the velocity is 8 meter per second. And then till the end point, let us consider it as time t2, the particle again decelerates, so there will be a negative acceleration associated with it, and it again comes to rest. The displacement which particle did in the last interval of t1 to t2 is 64 meters, and the overall displacement which the particle did was 584 meters. So as you can see that overall throughout from 0 seconds to t2 seconds, the acceleration was not uniform because the acceleration has changed. For a time interval from 0 to 10 seconds, there was a constant acceleration of a. For the second time interval from 10 seconds to t1, the acceleration is 0, and from t1 to t2, the acceleration is negative. So I can solve the problem using all these three equations by dividing the whole time interval into three zones. So three smaller time intervals. So let's say if I am considering the first time interval, which is from 0 to 10 seconds, then what are the variables which I know? I know that my initial velocity is 0, my final velocity is 8 meter per second, and my time interval is 10 seconds. So I can use the first equation to find out acceleration. So it will be v minus u upon t. So it would be 0.8 meter per second square. I can use the second equation for this time interval to find the displacement. So u is 0, but I can use half a t square, it is 0.8, into t square, which is 100. So it will be 40 meters. For the second time interval from 10 seconds to t1, the acceleration is 0. So these equations although can be applicable, but as soon as you put a equal to 0, then we will not get anything special, we will not get anything like interesting from that. The only thing we can see is that from 10 to t1 seconds, we can use the second equation to find the displacement. So let's say if I am calling it as s1, the end displacement is s2, 2 represent the second time interval, then u, which is 8 meter per second for this time interval, will be 8 into t1 minus 10. And 10 seconds t1 and t2 are not related to each other, but related to the 0 seconds. Then in the third time interval, which is from t1 to t2 seconds, the initial velocity is 8 meter per second, because that's the velocity at the starting of the time interval. The final velocity is 0. The acceleration, let us consider it as a, and the displacement is 64 meters. We do not know the variable t because it's t2 minus t1 and we do not know it. So let us use this equation because it will be easier to use, then we can find out a. So 64 into 2 into a should give us v square is 0, so it gives us minus 64, which is u square. So this gives us a equal to minus 0.5 meter per second square, and that is correct because so let me write it nicely. So acceleration comes out to be minus 0.5 meter per second square, and that is fine because the acceleration is supposed to be negative, because the velocity is going from 8 meter per second to 0 meter per second. So, okay. So the only thing I need to calculate, so there are certain variables which I still don't know, is like T1, T2 I don't know, and due to that I still don't know S2, which is the distance travelled in this part. And so yes, so let us find out all these variables. So let us also apply the second equation for the third time interval. Now we know that, okay, 64 is the displacement, u is 8 meter per second, so 8 into t, half. I know the acceleration now, which is minus half into t square. So, but it gives a quadratic equation in t. So that complicates the overall equation a little bit. And I am assuming that if you do not know how to solve a quadratic equation, then it will be very difficult. And sometimes it's possible that a t value would not be an integer. So this is the right method, but what would be an easier method of approaching this problem? The easier method would be if I am applying the first equation to find out the time interval, because I know u, I know v, I know u, I know v, as well as I know the acceleration which I have just found out using the third equation. So here we can see that using the first equation was much more easier to find out t than using the second equation. So v is 0, u is 8, acceleration is minus half, and then t. So it gives us t equal to 16 seconds. We could have used the second equation as I have earlier mentioned, but then it would be really difficult to find out t using the quadratic equation, whereas using the first equation was pretty much straightforward, and I could easily find out the time interval the third time interval, which was 16 seconds. Now the only variable I don't know is t1, because I know that, okay, t2 minus t1 is 16. So we'll just make use of the information which we have, that the overall displacement is 584 meters. So let us take sum of displacements in all three time intervals and equate it to 584 meters. So the net displacement is 584 is equal to the displacement in the first, which is 40, plus the displacement in the second, which is 8 into t1 minus 10, plus the displacement in the third time interval. So this gives me, this is 104, so this is 480, so this gives me t1 minus 10 is equal to 60, so this gives us t1 equal to 70 seconds. So now I can say that, okay, if t1 equal to 70 seconds, that means that the second time interval is 70 minus 10, 60 seconds. So the second time interval 2 is 60 seconds, and the third time interval, as we have already found out, it's 16 seconds. So the total time taken by the particle for this journey would be the sum of three time intervals. So it would be 10 plus 60 plus 16, it would be 86 seconds. So as you have seen that in this question, we had different time intervals, because in each of the time intervals the acceleration value was different, although the acceleration was constant, but we could separate these three time intervals depending on the acceleration which was present in that time interval. Other than that, we also, while solving, we looked at the method of using these three equations, that how do we define the initial velocity and final velocity, because these are dependent only in the time interval which we are talking about. And we also saw that it might not be useful just to apply all the equations blindly, because one equation can be easily applied than the other equation. So like in this example, we just saw that second equation was giving us two variables, two answers for the time interval, while using the first equation gave us a very straightforward answer of 16 seconds. So we have discussed the uniformly accelerated motion, in which we are discussing about the constant acceleration, but we have not touched upon the concepts of instantaneous acceleration and instantaneous velocity, which we will be covering in the next video in this series of videos. Thank you.